We on? We definitely are. So what's going on, tribe members? You already know, man. It's always a pleasure having you guys on this side. You already know it's that time. I'm gonna delve right into it, so you already know. So I hope everything's good. I thank you guys. I hope you guys don't have any. Well, I would hope you have some questions. I mean, it makes it even better. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely hit me up. Let me know what's going on. So let's get right into it, guys. All right, so tonight I'm going to be talking about, so far, let's put everything in perspective here. So it's important for you to link everything together, just so you have a good understanding of what this whole thing is about. Because truly, this is, the foundation of your growth. You know what I'm saying? This is the stone you'll be building off of. In so many words. You see what I'm saying? So it's important for you to understand what this is all about. What are we learning here, right? So we're learning about ourselves. Most importantly, at the same time, you're doing the shadow work. Well, not the actual shadow work, and I'll get to that too. So I'm going to have a whole video where I'm going to be talking about the shadow work. But essentially what we're doing now, by understanding the false self, the ego, and the true self, that is actually your shadow work. It's not the actual work because we're going to get into that, but that's a big chunk of what the shadow work is all about, which is pretty much understanding, like that other aspect of you and making peace with it. So far, we talked about embracing your ego, and you guys should know all about what this is all about. Having a different perspective about what your ego is, and therefore that would allow you to approach it, to embrace it a lot better. Do you see what I'm saying? But most importantly, by you embracing the ego, what you're also doing is you having what is called an inner peace instead of having this frequent and internal fucking battle and shit. That's not what we do here. Do you see what I'm saying? And the way to master self or mastering yourself has to do with inner peace. Do you see what I'm saying? So whenever there's conflict, there's no mastery going on. It's a constant fight. What are you doing? That's not what we're doing. So I'm just gonna fast forward a little. I mean, I'm gonna speak about that a little bit fast because by now I'm totally assuming, not for you to fully grasp it, but to have a solid understanding, when it comes to the self and understanding, your false self, your true self. And now that you're getting a grip on your fucking ego, now you're trying to understand a different aspect of it and how, your conditioning also affect your ego. Another way of saying that, your ego goes as far as you go, meaning your knowledge will affect the ego. And, to have a healthy ego is to, have a fully developed, it's to become fully developed spiritually. And you do that by opening up your heart, by getting the heart knowledge and all that good jazz that I already talk about. So, embracing the ego, and I believe the second thing I talked about, what the fuck? I don't even remember. Yeah, so it was about educating the ego, right? So, but most importantly, understanding, the way the ego is being fucked up because the ego is there to help you to survive and thrive, to protect you, right? So therefore, conditioning, but yet if you're creating a false self, you're not protecting, meaning you're not in alignment with yourself. So how can the ego truly protect you? Because at this point, the ego is not in the best element for the ego to do what it does. I mean, that's how simple that is, right? So I'm gonna fast forward. Then we talked about, the heart knowledge, how important it is to live from the heart, and that we also talk about the heart. It's more than just just there to love. Through your heart, that's where your spirit lives. Because if I were to ask you what's your passion right now, you cannot say that shit to me intellectually. I don't give a fuck. You will not be able to. You could think all you want, but it's going to be something you are passionate about. Something, another way of saying that, something you are emotional about. And that comes from the heart. That emotion has to come from the heart. Living from the heart doesn't mean like you're blind to your intellect. Not at all. In fact, you have a clear, it would help you to even have a greater intellect, because the heart allows you to, that sensitivity allows you to see things that otherwise you wouldn't even look at. And that's how it broadened your perspective. And I talked about the whole Jesus experience, you know what I'm saying, about the whole and all that shit. Nigga said, yo, you know what I'm saying, whoever's the first one, like, if you haven't, if you, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but technically what he's saying is, if you have not sinned, well, you throw the first fucking stone. Do you see what I'm saying? And these guys, it wasn't, because you got to keep in mind, it wasn't about who's sinning or not. It was about, it was, relatively to what the law says. So therefore, they were only using their intellect, and that's why they were fucking limited. And that's what you do when you only use your intellect. You got to put your heart into it, because your heart is your passion. Your heart is when you become alive. Your heart is when you do everything. Emanates from the heart. Well, anything worth living, or worth dying for, or living for, however the fuck you want to put it. Your passion, somebody you love, like all of that shit comes from the heart. So you gotta embrace the heart. The heart knowledge is definitely the way to go. And then I also talked about how the heart knowledge is not a contradiction. It's not contradicting your, the head thinking or the intellect. No, they complement each other. You know what I'm saying? There's no war going on. In fact, the essence of harmony, and that's what, African spirituality is all about. Got to fast forward again. So I hope now you're catching up. You know what I'm saying? You're putting the two and two together. Because now, the last thing we talked about, because let's jump to the last thing we were talking about, which is conditioning. But most importantly, we were able to understand that the type of conditioning that we have in the States, it's a gang mentality. You see it everywhere. When you talk about your Crips and Bloods, Democrat, Republican. I mean, I can't really think of anything else, but it's a binary system. Everywhere you go. Even in the church, the way you're thinking, it's either or, it's black or white. So, but most importantly, I also talk about the type of effect that has on you psychologically when you have a gang mentality. Meaning, when you have a group mentality now, it's you versus them. Do you see what I'm saying? Your group is the best. And that's also, ironically, that is the foundation for fucking racism. And that's what this country's all about. Well, I shouldn't say all about, but it's a big chunk. Racism, I mean, races, come on now. I mean, who the fuck are we kidding? And it's based on a group racial thing, meaning our group is better than yours. Do you see what I'm saying? And therefore, you can't have access to this, and for them to protect themselves, now you become a threat to them. That's what the gang mentality is. You'll never see a Crip go hand in hand with a fucking Blood. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? Because their identity now is being questioned. So when you have a gang mentality, nobody else is included. It's just you versus them pretty much. And I already talked about that, but where I'm going with this now is that, so that alone should show you the power of connecting, the power of connection. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. So now, in order for you now, instead of having a group mentality, we talk about having a community mentality, which is more of a healthy, it's more healthy for your ego, but most importantly for your self-development. Because now at this point, you're not looking to, separate yourself from others, but you understand as a whole, we all come together. That's why the power of a community is just fucking incredible, instead of motherfucking having a gang mentality, which is a group mentality, which is, separation. So therefore, when you're thinking in the gang mentality, you're not open to connecting with other people, because your survival now has to do with the group identity, with the gang mentality. Oh, all of that shit is fucking spiritual. It's important for you to understand it because it's fucking up your ego. And of course, if you have a fucked up ego, well, I mean, I hope you know the rest. you know, I mean, you'll never get to see the full picture, and your heart will never be as light as a feather. So therefore, you'll never be able to transcend or looking at the bigger picture. So that's what we're talking about here. So already, just by understanding, the gang mentality that we are going through here, it's already showing you the power of connecting with other people, because that shit is powerful. You know what I'm saying? It helps you you get outside of your comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could do something as easy as have a fucking immigrant friend, a nigga like that's totally different from you. That alone, you know what I'm saying, would just open up your ego. Because you also got to keep in mind, and I always tell people about this, the purpose of being a fully spiritual person, that's when you become sane, is to be a good human being. Not for the sickness of good, in a sense of, seeking for validation. Oh, look over here, I'm a good person. No, you do it innately. You know what I'm saying? Because now you have a greater connection with the cosmic, and the side effect of that is you becoming a good human being. Meaning you're not judging people, you're accepting people, you truly operating from the heart with this true fucking love. You accepting everybody, you embracing everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not like my God's better than yours. You got to follow my shit for you. It's none of that. That's when you start having compassion for other people. You acknowledge them and respect them at their level. That's why when we say namaste to someone else, it doesn't mean that your spirituality has been activated. No. We're saying, despite of your spirituality not being activated, I see the God in you, because I see it in me. Now, all you got to do now, you're just going to have to open up. Now, that's a whole different ballgame. But we see it in you. And I often define, being a spirituality or a spirit, that you are that already. It has nothing to do with a belief system. Has nothing to do with you following a fucking religion. You already that. It's your mind, body, and soul. Once you understand the connection or the mystery of those different aspects of you, because your body is you, your mind is you, then when you understand the mystery behind all of this shit, it comes down to you fucking being a spirit. And that's how you are a spirit, having having a human experiences. Or a human experience, if you want to put it that way. But it all comes from you understanding that. Now, once you understand that, now you are activating that. You are, putting yourself in alignment with yourself. That's when you're becoming spiritual now. Or you are reaching a higher state of alignment. You are radiating. You know what I'm saying? Like that shine that you are, it's really now you are radiating that. You are becoming one. You are becoming the word, or however the fuck you want to put it. Now, the spirit is being made flesh. Not just in a physical aspect, but in having those type of experiences, like you're flowing, you're becoming one with yourself. The higher self and the lower self now is becoming together. But anyway, enough of that. Shit, I was on some bullshit. But I mean, that's, when you're channeling things too, and it's all coming together. Do you see what I'm saying? So, how do you get rid of that mentality where it's us versus them? The whole Machiavelli type of thing. Do you see what I'm saying? And even Robert Greene told you that shit too. Like, I think in the 40th Power of Law, I can never finish up, that whole shit. But anyway, I mean, it has its purpose too now. Don't get it fucked up. I'm not trying to downplay it. I know exactly for what it is, but I know what it represents. Do you see what I'm saying? And this nigga also tells you that too. Through love, there's nothing you can do through love. You don't dominate people. You don't do none of that shit through love. Because love doesn't do that. So therefore, Machiavelli told you that shit too. If you're going to control the crowd, you got to do it through fear, baby. So in other words, you got to be out of alignment for somebody else to control you. And that's truly what it comes down to. That's how knowing the truth will set you free. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why too, like, you got to be careful. Like, even when people are talking about the Illuminati and all that shit, if you put that energy in you, that's all you need. Because once you know you, the world is yours, baby. You know what I'm saying? So, again, let's get back to it. I'm getting sidetracked here. So we're talking about how do we get rid of that gang mentality? Because that's really what it comes down to. Do you see what I'm saying? How do I annihilate, or how do I, that is a good word to use. How do I annihilate that, how do I, bridge, that separation between me and somebody else? Now, let's just say if I'm in a gang, if I'm a gang members, what's up, tribes? You know what I'm saying? You hardcore ass motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? My Crips and my Bloods, you know what I'm saying? It's all love, baby. And I'm Haitian too. So the Haitian flag is blue and red. So my niggas, you know what I'm saying? Shit, I'm Blood and Crips, nigga. But anyway, I'm saying all of that to say, how do you get out of it, right? So the obvious, or the most obvious, well, not necessarily obvious, but the most common thing at this point to do is to make connection with other people. Is to get outside of that, okay, this is my group, this is all I know, you know what I'm saying? It's to mingle, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Get to know somebody who's not like you, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll be surprised to find out how much in common you have with this motherfucker. Trust me. and I'm just an immigrant nigga who understands this game. I mean, because I've been exposed to all kind of, then you notice, you're like, God damn, we all really like one. I know for me, because I got all kinds of friends, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? I listen to all type of music. You know what I'm saying? I do it all. Then you realize, damn, people are motherfucking people. But anyway, that also plays a big part in your spirituality too. Because I don't want you to look at it as I'm talking some social shit that has nothing to do with your spirituality. So first of all, you got to understand everything is spiritual. Even that social thing that I was just talking about just now, guess what? It's a mental representation. It represents your mentality. And if you delve into, okay, so then what's the mystery of my mentality? Then you see a spirit. And if you truly understand these three things that I just mentioned, and I didn't even mention anything about the body. So I mentioned about the mind and the motherfucking, the mental. Well, the mind and the mental is pretty much the same thing. But anyway, if you understand, like truly grasp this here, that's when you truly get to see the truth for what it is. And that's how you transcend, my niggas. That's your transcendence right there. But I'm saying it in words, but I also come to that realization as well. But see, like, the things that I'm saying to you now, You know, it's one thing to understand it, and it's another to become that knowledge. See, I had to become that knowledge. Listen, I'm not shit. I'm a walking testimony, baby. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I'm testifying out loud, nigga. How do you want it? But anyway, shit, nigga, I'll be on some bullshit. And we're going to make this one short, too, because I want to make sure that I'm getting to the point that we're talking about the shit that needs to be talking about. Needs to talk about, or whatever the fuck. You get the point, right? So obviously, just like I was talking about, you know, reaching out, branching out, connecting,